Us, big one,
Us,
big us,
us.
everyone around the world. Thank you so much for everyone's responses. Where the hell are we? What's going on? Well, I chuckle a little bit here with Shihan Sean. We've just had a quick chat, but appreciate everyone being patient thus far. A little bit mostly from my end with work and family travel commitments that have occurred. So freshened up and ready to go. We can't wait for the second part of this year. Can you, Shihan Sean? We're up to June. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I know. It's
And it's
crazy, isn't
just
it?
flying. And then when you have comments from people going, next one, please, that'd be great. Well, here we are. So, Shihan Sean, how are you? How are you going?
Us. Yeah, us. Good sensei. Yeah, no, it's getting into the rainy season here, which means
Yep.
muggy sort of getting close to summer weather, and all the humidity goes right out the window. So yeah,
Oh,
it's
right,
not,
right,
not the
right.
best time of year. But no, it's been good. Been good first half so far, and
Good.
plenty going on in the Kyokushin world over here as well.
Yes, yes. Well, that's a
Lots of
good
stuff.
that's a good
Yeah,
segue for us. So, listeners, here we are. We have got Shihan Sean, and it's been about probably a month or so.
yeah,
Lots has been happening. Shihan Sean obviously communicate, and slowly, there's been topical things that we've gone and said. Listen, let's update people on what's been going on. That's another part of what we're doing here and giving everyone more of an idea of news and updates and what's been happening. So, let's get cracking into it because there's a fair bit to share, isn't there? So the
yeah,
floor's
yeah.
yours for a bit. Go for it.
Okay, yeah. Well, so April and May have sort of, come
Yeah,
and gone pretty
yeah.
quickly. A couple of big events in April here. First, at the beginning of it was the Dengokai World Champs,
Wow. Yeah.
which just came off the back of the sort of combined All Japan tournament where all the, Hasegawa and everyone got together and got in the same sandpit and did the All
Yes.
Japan Champs. But Dengokai already had their world champ set in place.
Mm.
That's why they didn't make the combined one a world championship. They
Gotcha.
wanted the test run first. That was quite successful. And then the
That's good.
Dengokai one itself, if no one's aware, and I'll quickly just share my screen for everyone
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Please.
oh,
I think
actually,
this
you
is
have to
great.
make me a host. Anyway, I'll let you make me the host first.
Oh, okay. You keep going.
Yeah, that's all right. So yeah, I mean, when we compare factions in Japan,
Yep.
you got the Matsui faction, Ico one. That they stream their world champs, right? But it's a pay per view system. It's all about the
That's
cash.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's a business for them, and I get that. Um, we have Shin, and they've got a big tie up with some of the cable TV networks here. So if you've got cable in Japan, you
Right.
can usually watch the Shin World Champs on that, which is really good.
That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. And then for the others, some of them are starting to get into the YouTube streaming. And
Yeah.
this is the great thing about the Dengokai, the All Japan Union. They didn't just pop a camera on in
Yeah.
the corner and let it run. They actually went about it really professionally, and they got
Yeah.
you know a TV announcer to come in
Yeah.
to actually lead the conversations, and then they
Yeah.
through the different blocks and the different stages of the tournament, they had different big
Fantastic.
names come in to talk through the fights and talk about who's coming in and what their strategies are
Yeah.
for all the different categories, whether it be the open, whether it be the women's, whether it be the weight category
Excellent.
or the masters category.
Yeah.
You had all these different Kyokushin big names sitting down with the professional TV announcer,
Yeah.
and they did it really well.
Oh,
So I'll just quickly show you here in case anyone's interested.
there
So
you go.
go, yeah,
Yeah, you're on.
here we go. Right, so YouTube. Sorry, this is in Japanese because this is what my settings are. But um, from here downwards, you've got two
Yep.
days worth of, and I'll put the links up later on. I'll
Yeah.
send them to you, Sensei, and we can
Yeah.
put them up and that so people can click on it. But you've got 2 days worth. So you see here the date, uh, the 8th of April. That was day one, and then day two here,
Cool
and it's 9 hours and 8 hours worth of.
content.
So there's 17 hours of watching, and yeah, everything's in Japanese.
Yeah.
That's fine. You don't really need to listen. You can look at it and sort of work it all out. But mate, there's some great fights there that I think they did really well. It was professionally run, but it was free to view.
Yeah.
And you know, they're using YouTube to do this in a way that benefits everyone. There's no, okay, you got to pay this amount of money to watch it,
Yeah.
or physically got to be there to see it.
Yeah.
No, that they've really got on board with that. So I'll pop some links up for
Yeah. Good
everyone to
idea.
have a look. But I thought looking through it, there was, you know, quite a high quality of fighting. One Shihan here in a big name here in Japan, Hamai Shihan, who is part of this collaborative group,
Uh-huh.
who has his own faction, but was originally with Matsui Kancho for a long time,
Oh yeah.
one of the old Shihans of the era. Um, he talks a lot about, well, it's good to have, and I think I talked about this when we talked about the original press conference,
Yes.
that what he said was, you know, it's great for all these factions to produce, you know, very capable fighters,
Yes.
but wouldn't it be nice to get as many together to produce a true champion amongst them all, whether
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
be a foreigner, whether that be a Japanese
Yeah.
fighter, whatever it be? Isn't that where what we should aim to do in the future with all this sort of dispersion of factions? Try
Yes.
and bring as many together, and whether you know, he even mentioned that, you know, it would be great to get all the champions of all these
Oh,
different factions to do a
imagine.
champion series if
Yeah.
they're still fighting, or if they want to come out of retirement or things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, really good watch there. And the great thing about YouTube is it's not like the old VHS where you have
Yeah.
to press rewind and
Yeah.
fast forward. You can just drag it along to what you want to watch, and you can watch it again. So yeah, check that out, because
That's great.
definitely some top fighters from within Japan and around the world. Some really some tough women in there as well, which was
How
great to see.
in a quick summary on that, not to put you on the spot, but I am. How did you see the style of fighting? So what I mean by that, let's just talk in regards whether it's male or female. But I know
Yeah,
there's separate types of styles. But obviously, when we've gone and you've been to almost all of my world tournaments that I competed in, we would compete in 04, 08,
yeah,
12 and 16. But you'd go in one of those ones and it would be close, very, very close, very, very heavy punches, but close, short, sharp punches with inside thighs. And then we
yeah,
would come back to Australia and go, right, that's how we're going to adjust to that.
yeah, yeah,
That's the
yeah.
style. Then you would go to to the next tournament, the All Japan or whatever, and then it would go into longer range, speed, 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 push, 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 push,
Yeah,
push,
yeah,
push,
yeah,
push, that
yeah,
type of
yeah,
style. Then
yeah.
you'd go, shit, all right, we've got to adjust that. How did you see some of the styles that were, I guess, progressing in any way? Was it more speed driven? Was it more power hitting driven? Was it more combination sets?
Well, obviously, when you get to the open weight stuff, yeah, it's a combination of the two. You know,
Yep.
I think though, as even with karate, the different ways we can train now, that I think even within Japan, there's been I guess a development in the whole approach to it. Like, it's not just that stand toe to toe and try and
Yes.
bash the shit out of each other.
Yes. Yep.
That's long and gone. That's the old style.
Yeah.
They're very thoughtful fighters now. They treat it a bit like you know, a Thai boxing sort of approach, where if anyone's familiar with Muay Thai and that,
Yep.
if you're going into that fight, you're not going hell for leather from minute one. You're
No.
sussing each other out.
Yeah.
You're building up. You're building up. That's something I guess it's been part of Kyokushin fighting for a long time, where you'll get the last 30 seconds where you rush it.
Yeah.
But what I found, and what you'll see by looking at it, is yeah, there's a lot more strategy involved now. It's not just about the bash.
Yeah.
Um, Certainly a lot of like the heavier fighters are faster now too.
Yeah.
It's gone back to that, you know, it's actually an old judo concept.
Okay.
Um, Minimum effort, maximum efficiency is one of
Right.
the things that Kano Jigoro, the founder of judo, right?
Judo.
That was one of his philosophies, that you've got to look at the efficiency in what you do to maximize the output.
Mm.
So making things more efficient in the movements,
Very good.
when to put your foot down. But this, I mean, goes back to Sorsai's original concepts as well, because he obviously would have been influenced by people of that time as well,
Yep.
being a judo person. He just transferred it into a karate concept, but I mean, we could spend a whole 3 or 4 episodes on
Yeah.
martial arts philosophy in Japan, but one thing I will say is that Kano Jigoro is responsible for so much in modern martial arts here in Japan,
Right. Right.
that a lot of other of the the karates, the
Yes.
aikidos, or what have you, have taken bits and pieces of his blueprint
Awesome.
and then slapped their color onto it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
to
cool.
get back to it, it's that minimum effort, maximum efficiency
Yeah.
can also mean really being aware of all the body movements, the transfer of
Great.
power,
Yeah.
without gassing out. And you
Yeah.
don't see a lot of them in this world tournament gassing out. They really think about the fight all the way through. They're studying or analyzing the fighters, each other a lot more. They're starting to get that information on each other.
Yeah.
Looking at it's a bit like high performance sports.
Yeah.
You go into rugby before a game, you'll be watching 3 or 4
Scouting.
previous games of your opponents to analyze different players' quirks and characteristics. It's the same now in the karate world. So they're smart fighters now.
Yeah.
Really smart.
Great
So I think
points.
the quality of fighting was good. It was a good I mean, IKO 1 has made a lot of changes to their rules. What is a wazari?
Yeah.
What's a on? And I don't want to make a judgment. I'm not going to say it's watered
Sure.
down. It's just different.
Yep. Yep.
Different. Scoring's
Agree.
different now.
Agree.
This is still old school where it's, okay, it's knockdown karate.
Knockdown. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Same
great.
thing in Japan, you've got and I remember talking to Nick about this years ago when we were at a tournament together, officiating. And when he was giving advice to the foreign fighters, Nick Pettis, he said to them, he goes, look, you've got to be pushing that other guy out of the ring as much as you can in the last 30 seconds. You've got to be moving forward to leave a lasting impression on the Japanese judges, because if you're getting pushed back, that's an easy way for them to give the flag to the other guy.
Correct.
So it's all about that control. So it is a thinking game, and that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
It's the Japanese playing field. So you basically got to go out and knock the Japanese opponent out,
Yeah.
or be in total control towards the end as well, when it's pretty even up until that point. And so that hasn't changed. So yeah, there's some things that have stayed the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it's more fluid now. It's more enjoyable to watch than two guys or two girls sort of sitting there toe to toe and just bashing each other's chest and then throwing in the odd leg kick.
Yeah.
One of those days, they're setting up the rolling thunder. They're setting up this. You can see it now, and that's what's enjoyable. So if you've got that knowledge and that experience, you can kind of guess what's coming next.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they are taking their foot off the gas and then putting it back on. So it's a better watch now.
Yeah, you've raised so many key things. I hope listeners, I mean, my head just pinpointed 10 things that you've raised there, gas, angles, movement, strategy off the mat. There's so many things that I'd mentioned in our dojo as well. And I'd love to share more to those when I watch tournaments here in Australia, more so, where I'm like, I'd just love to grab that student, and it's no disrespect to their teacher or anyone. It's just a tip that I would have got when I used to play basketball. You'd get another coach from another club or a team go, hey buddy, you played well. Have you ever tried this, or think of that? And if it works, it works. And unfortunately, we don't have that. And I'm not saying it disrespectfully. We just don't have that. No one really gives any other student, because it is an honorary thing to go and not disrespect their teacher, their coach. But there's so many things. But when you go to these world tournaments, or if you get a chance to watch this, which I had a chance to watch parts of it, but I'm going to go back now just to revisit those key things that you've just said. And then it just gives you another part. And I think I was telling my students the other night, Shihan, others, there's lots of my students play basketball, piano, football, right? Those types of things. And they practice them outside of trading. So you have to train, but then they're practicing it for 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day. I said, how long, hands up, who's practiced karate? Like, listen to the language I just said. practicing karate, it just doesn't, like, I go to training, but have you practiced it? Have you practiced working on something? Here in Australia, well, on behalf of my dojo, and I'm not proud of it, but none do. None spend, and I'm talking 8-year-olds to anywhere to 15-year-olds in that conversation. But even in adults, did you stretch this week? Did you work on a combination? Oh, I went for a run. That's not practice. That's just working on your health, and that's just working on your stamina. I'm talking about, your punch. Did you punch the bags? Did you work on a combination set over and over and over and over, and strategize some of your footwork maybe, and just do footwork stuff? So just some key things that just popped in my head while you were just saying all that stuff.
It's interesting because this is a common, I guess, thread throughout all kinds of teaching. And one thing I do at university is in the different classes, and if it's a skill-based class, could be an interpreting class I run or something like that.
Yes.
I'll say to the students, and I say this in the dojo as well, that there's 3 stages to learning. The first stage is acquisition, and that's when you go to the dojo and you get taught these different combinations, these different kata, fighting strategies, whatever part of the class, you can break it down. So that's the acquisition stage. That's, the knowledge input. But to become fluent, to become skillful in that, you've got to take it to the production stage. And if you're just going once or twice a week to training, you stay in the acquisition stage because it's all controlled. But if you're not taking that outside of the training and producing it yourself, which you just said practicing, right?
Yes.
If you're not practicing, then you don't become fluent. If it's a language, you don't become smooth in your movement. If it's karate, and the more you produce that knowledge, then you get to the final stage, which is, and I'm thinking in Japanese because I was reminding myself, but in English, internalization. There we go. Internalization. You internalize it. So that's, if we look at language, you learn a language, you practice it like nothing, and you become fluent, and then at some stage you become bilingual.
Yeah.
You don't have to think in 2 languages anymore. You can think in the target language, and that means you've internalized it. So karate is the same.
Yes.
We both you and I could stand on the floor, throw out combinations, and to the students they would look very smooth, and they'd go, "I'd love to be able to do it that way." Well, we used to be in your spot as well.
Exactly.
We used to be really rigid and have to really think about the next movement, but we've done it so many times that now it's just second nature.
Correct.
And that's that internalization. So that's where you sort of say, give them small goals to achieve. Okay.
Yes.
Done this tonight. Your homework for kids, it always works well.
Yeah.
Your homework is to practice this 10 times a day until you come to training next. Keep it simple, but then they get into that habit of producing, and then they internalize. So
very good. They were great points. And on a segue there, different side of it. Thanks for that summary. That was great. We move on to something else, which was the awesome chat you had with your Irish amigo there, senpai, a student of Shihan Masuda there, and Philip, senpai Philip. What a great conversation, and apologies, obviously I wasn't available. That's life. But we get to it, but loved it so much because it was just very organic and just a casual chat that we love. But what a story he's got. And this is the part of the when I did the Forever the Student, when I interviewed you and many others from my side of the fence, if that makes sense. I knew most of them, they knew me, but to get some others like that, which you're aiming to do and which is exciting as well. But to do that, the Irishman's tale of just understanding his goggles, I called it, like the way he was viewing it. And what an interpretation of the dojo kun that he gave us for the listeners. You got to go listen to it. Very cool, good listening of just understanding someone else's story. And again, it didn't have to be high profile as yet, but his teacher is one of the GOATs.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the great thing about Philip was he didn't sugarcoat anything,
That's it.
He kept it really simple. And I guess what I took away from that was knowing your audience. And, he's been given the opportunity to teach children at the place where he works.
Yes.
So they've allowed him to open a dojo there. But again, he just spoke the Japanese culture so well when he said, I'd recite the original dojo kun, but not even the adults get that. When we recite it in English, it's sort of you you get it, but it's just a matter of repeating it. That's the
Mhm.
exercise. You don't have a lot of time to reflect on it, too much. But when you're asking children to use that difficult language, they just don't get it at all. So I thought it was
Sure.
really good that he first culturally went to Matsuda Shihan and he said, I
Yes.
don't want to rewrite the Dojo-kun.
Yes.
I just want to create something simple from the essence of it
Yeah.
into simple language that children will get, which acts as a guideline. And that's what an oath is. It's kind of a guideline. If you're religious and you talk about the Bible and the
Yeah.
Ten Commandments,
Yeah.
okay, from the outside, that's a list of guidelines for that religion or whatever religion you look at, there's
Sure.
different guidelines, but they're purely just a framework. So, how simple the language becomes will sort of affect how much they can digest. And
Yes.
when you talk about teaching kids, I thought that was a great,
Yeah.
and for a foreigner
Yeah.
to then simplify really difficult language into simple language in the host nation's
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, what a
Yeah.
great idea. And I
Yeah.
mean, I think we could do that
Yeah.
in the speaking world. I actually took that away. Like,
Yeah.
you've got kids in your dojo,
Yep.
and all the other dojos that I've been part of, there's a good sprinkling of kids in there, and you think, yeah, they're trying to recite 2 or 3 words of each sentence in the dojo kun. But I mean, to them, it means nothing. So,
Yeah.
okay, well, if you've got a kids only class,
Yeah.
why not make something simple? It's just a reference, it doesn't have to be done, but I thought it was quite a good thing. So,
But refreshing to hear, and again, many of us, and the reason we started this segment, this episode, was to get some I guess reflection of what is happening over in Japan, rather than when we're always there, you're in and
yeah,
out. As I was
yeah,
saying, you fly in, I got 4 days, I got to come back. And bang, bang, you're in and out. And you'd love to spend some time maybe just poking your eye through a dojo as you would, and then seeing. But yeah, that was really cool. And well done to you on that one. That was great.
yeah, yeah. No, so I mean, hopefully we can have another chat with them, in the
Yeah.
future as well, because there's still a lot more. Offline, we talked for a while, and there's a few other things that came up. And afterwards, he goes, "Oh, I should have mentioned this. I should have mentioned that." I was
Yeah.
like, "Well, we don't have to do it all in one shooting." So,
No. Uh,
but yeah, there's lots of people over here doing that.
yeah.
So definitely want to try and get some different people on, from the different factions within Kyokushin, and also if the listeners are interested, different different martial artists as well.
Mm,
The Todd Reeves of the world, been other people, good people to get on because of their time in Japan.
yeah.
Good mate of
Absolutely.
mine who's big in the kendo world, who martial arts has basically been his life in terms of he's an academic as well as a practitioner.
Yeah.
Good old mate of mine, Alex Bennett. A few others like that, which just give us a different perspective on things. So yeah, lots to look forward to in that
Yeah,
regard.
and that listeners, we were just chatting earlier, and Shihan Sean has a list that he's putting together, and again, we do our best. So I hope that list
Work in progress, but we'll
yeah,
get there.
keep it going. Let's keep going. The next part is the image behind you, which is part of our lineage, the Zen Kyokushin
Okay,
lineage. Soshi Hasegawa there in the middle, Kyoshi Jimmy Phillips from Australia,
there
a
you
couple
go.
of Australian representatives there, Shihan Lance as well. So we had a contingent there for this, I guess, tour/grading that Soshi and the World's Zen Kyokushin group did. So you've got a great summary that you've shared with me. I'd love for you to try and recap that again on the awesome week that was had over in Ikebukuro there and Mount Mitsumine and so on. So please, the next 10 minutes is yours. I'll try not to interfere
Sure.
because I'm looking forward to hearing it as well.
Right, so yeah, Zen Kyokushin had their international gathering at the end of
Yes.
April. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to. I was originally looking to go up there, but wasn't able to in the end. However, through the wonders of modern technology and catching up with Kyoshi, Jim Phillips, and a few others along the way as well, um, it was a very successful, I guess, gathering as well, which was made up of many different things. As you can see in the background, they were able to hire Hombu
Yes.
to run a grading. They also had meetings,
Mm.
etc.,
Mm.
on planning or future planning, basically. And they were able to decide on some representatives for different regions around the
Mm.
world who, and it's not like the old days where these regional representatives hold all power.
Yeah.
The theme that came from what I've heard is that they're wanting, a window of contact that can then send out the information rather than dealing with all the individual
Yes.
dojos that have joined the organization. So it's basically just rationalizing that communication a bit more. So that was good. So they were able to sit down in a room and sort of negotiate the terms of engagement there, and how everyone saw that moving forward.
Yep.
And that's where everyone was given the floor to obviously give their opinions, but they were all able to come to a consensus.
Mm.
And what we're talking about here is learning from the past as well. And the reason
Mm.
people have joined Soshi Hasegawa's organization is because he is willing to sit down and listen. It's not always a top down approach. In some ways it has to be because of the way Kyokushin karate is structured. That's the Kyokushin culture. We're talking about a cult here in a way, and
Yeah.
I hate to
Yeah.
use that
Yeah.
word, but a cult has a certain set of rules that everyone has to adhere to. So
Abide.
there's
Yeah.
some things that haven't changed over time. But from my dealings with Soshi Hasegawa for many, many years, both as my instructor and in other capacities, as he's aged, he's become more mellow, he's become more open, and
Right.
he is always willing to listen to other people. So obviously that's attracted a lot of people. He's got the right people in the right place. One thing that was great about
Yeah.
this to see was Shigeo Nitsu Shihan,
Us.
okay, who is one of Hasegawa Soshi's front line.
Yes.
He and I wonder if he's in this photo
Couldn't
here.
see him.
Is he in the
I couldn't see him.
photo? No, I think he
No.
might have been. Oh no, 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 he is there.
On the right.
This guy here.
Okay. Yep. Next to Shihan
This
Takuma.
guy here.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so Takuma Shihan's here, and I'll try not to. There we go.
Yep. You got it.
This is Nitsu Shihan. Okay. This is Yoneyama Shihan here. This is Hayashi Shihan. A few others gone. Shihan from China sitting next to Soshi. Anyway, he's based in Tokyo, so he runs the Tokyo dojo, and okay, so I might ruffle some feathers here, but this is just my take on things.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a senpai kohai system.
Yes.
We have a rank system for a reason. It's an indication of your dedication, your contribution. It's also a measuring bar for your proficiency in the art.
Us.
So that rank comes from a lot of hard work on your end, but also an objective judgment from the people that are grading you. So rank is a privilege. It
Us.
is a privilege to have, and that's how I see it. Rank has privilege. Seems to be a very common, especially amongst younger, higher ranked practitioners that I've come up against.
Mm-hmm.
They get this rank buzz about them that now they've got this extra bar on their belt they can order people about.
Uh-huh.
Now, what we tend to forget is that, yeah, within the dojo, yes, okay, there's a structure in place for a reason. And we respect those ranks,
Us.
whether it be a blue belt respecting a yellow belt, a green belt respecting a brown belt, or a white belt respecting an orange, etc., and so forth.
Us.
It doesn't change. It's not just at a black belt level. But what I find is when people start to don that black belt, they suddenly turn into these very sort of dictator-like.
Mm.
Not everyone. I'm not saying everyone, but I've found people think, well, it's that my shit doesn't stink kind of.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And they think they don't have to do as much as they used to.
Right.
But that benevolence that we try to, and this is one of the parts of Bushido code, is being benevolent, and
Yes.
caring for others. One thing that I found from this recent international gathering was this guy. Whoops, there we go. This guy
Yes.
here,
Us.
Nitsu Shihan, who
Us.
before the end of this gathering was a Godan, but then he was thrown in on grading day unexpectedly and had to test for Rokudan, and he passed. but he was so busy organizing the whole event
Wow.
with limited English, jumping
Yeah.
on Google Translate, etc. But he got by. But the thing is, it's all in the action. Actions speak louder than words. And this guy would go to Haneda Airport.
Yes.
Okay, he had the schedule of all the people coming in from overseas. He's a Godan. Okay,
Yes.
he didn't get one of his Shodans. He didn't get one of his brown
Yeah.
belts.
Right. Right. Right.
Hasegawa Soshi had asked him to organize the whole thing. He could
Yeah.
have delegated, but no. He physically went to that airport every day for 3 to 4 days
What?
before the whole thing began because people were coming in at
Yeah.
different times to make sure they got in,
Wow.
to make sure they got on the airport limousine bus to get to the Metropolitan Hotel. He was there from morning to night every day. And he would
Unreal.
write that in his blog. And he's got a blog and he puts everything down.
Yeah.
And I mean,
So
so
humble,
humble. He hasn't lost that humility. And that's part of our dojo-kun,
isn't it?
humility.
Isn't it? Yeah.
And so when people suddenly become,
Yeah.
sunduns, especially with, I know you're not like this, so that's
All
a good
good.
thing.
All good.
But I've seen it time and time again that once that third strike goes on the belt, it's sort of like, well, no, I'll get my plebs to do it. No, 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 no. You lead by example, and
Push.
this guy does it.
Yeah. Right on.
But the great thing about it was, towards the end of all of this, as he was sort of recording everything in his blog of the date, and he went in, I'll just quickly share, and it's all scribbled to most people because they're not Japanese, proficient. But
But we're lucky that you can interpret for us.
yeah,
So
exactly.
appreciate it. Yeah.
So
Right. That's cool.
this is his blog, okay, and you'll see 765, okay, 4,
Yeah. Right.
okay. So these are all of his notes from
Right.
each day, but look at the dates: 24th of April, 25th, 25th,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
26th, 26th. This is while it's happening. This is in real time.
Yeah. Right.
He was up from, the crack of dawn until just before the crack of the next
Yeah.
dawn, making sure everything's running smoothly. But he still found 5 minutes
Yep.
to put down different things, And I mean, I opened this one up
Yeah.
and
Cool.
put it in Google Translate, so you've got it in English as well. So we can put a link to his blog if you want to have a look.
Yeah.
But he's saying here, Zen Kyokushin has been going for 4 years.
Yes.
They finally, gotten over Corona, the COVID
Yes. Yes. All those
stuff.
issues.
Always wanted to do something. Had so many things going on. I won't go into it, but
Yeah. It's in depth though. Very in depth.
it's not just one or two sentences.
No.
Here's all the countries that were there.
How
It
good.
says here in Japanese, karate ga suki de, kyokushin ga suki de, right? But it says here, I like karate, I like kyokushin. No, actually, the word ski in Japanese means, so S-U-K-I, not T-S-U-K-I, not the punch, but
Yes.
suki means like or love. So a better translation is he loves karate,
Okay.
loves kyokushin. That's what he's trying to say.
Yes. Yes.
But it's just the Google Translate.
Deeper. Yeah. It's deeper though.
But,
Yeah.
he said it's been tough, but being able to get everyone together and
Yeah.
photos here. This guy probably slept 2 or 3 hours a day.
And then he had the grade,
But-
and then he got it, and then he got asked the grade. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, right? That's
Yeah,
epic.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's dedication. That's just an example of
Very cool.
people. That's the cultural thing in Japan. Go out of your way. So philosophically, one thing we can learn is never to lose that humility.
Great reminder. Yeah.
And it's not just about saying the right things to the right people and saying
Yeah.
us enough. It's not that, because that's the easy part.
Yeah.
And it's not about being a dick either, like
Sure.
once you become a higher grade, because you're really, what you reflect will be the norm for your students.
Others.
So what he's reflected, he set the bar really high. So how you want your students to act is how you project yourself to them,
Yeah.
basically. I mean, it's common sense.
How
It is
you-
all common sense, but I don't think we think about it.
How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
You know, that's just these little things that tend to be forgotten or tend to
Yeah.
be taken for granted. As I tell
Yeah.
some people, don't take this stuff for granted. Yeah, what a great,
You know, and ending in
song.
his blog was great because he took the time to thank everyone for
Mm,
making it all the way to Japan. It wasn't expected. I mean, the it wasn't something they demanded. They
mm,
wanted people to come,
mm.
but he went out of his way to say thank you and to appreciate all of the challenges that people went through
Yeah.
to get themselves to the country, to actually front up to each of the meetings.
Ish.
And he reflects on that a lot in his blog and says, you know, that they all had a very serious attitude towards it. There was a lot of open discussion. People were able to speak the language of Kyokushin to each other, even with language barriers. And then to see everyone trying their best on the grading day and being humble but being determined in their approach was a big takeaway for him. And he said he learnt from the people that had come overseas, you know, just how important this love for Kyokushin is, and how we, you know, we all have that mutual respect for each
Yes.
other. And you know, he's now at Okudan, and that's someone talking very humbly, but also, and I mean, I watched a bit of his grading on YouTube.
He did
Man,
60 fights. He
he
did
can go.
60 rounds.
Yeah. So Soshi Hasegawa in his, and some of them are doing it now. You know, they've added another 10 on for those that are able to do it,
Yes.
for those that want to do it. So it's the choice. Um, for others that are older, less capable,
Okay.
etc., for different conditions,
Yep.
then there's you know different ways of looking at it. A, you might not have to, or B, you might have to do a certain number that Soshi decides on.
Yes.
But again, that's just one of the passages that you know people take, and I mean Kyoshi. A big shout out to Kyoshi Jim Phillips,
Ish.
um, with as the representative for Oceania for the
Yep. Our
South
region.
Pacific.
Ish.
He got up on the floor. He graded. He's now a nanadan, a seventh dan. So
Yeah. Amazing.
way
Congrats.
overdue. And
Yeah.
taking my put my personal hat on, way overdue.
Oh,
The man has contributed so much, um, and so it's just nice to see that recognition finally happening. Um, but another example of a very humble human being. So you know, as the people below these
yes.
these that we see, I think we can take a lot away, not just from the technique they show on the floor or the
Mm,
karate knowledge they have, but that whole package as well. And I mean, that's
great
very
reminder.
much something we got to look at,
Yeah,
So,
I'll let you have a breather there. That was a fantastic
phew,
summary.
there we go,
You can
done.
get yourself a glass of water if you need. Shian, that's awesome. I just sat back and enjoyed listening to all of that. So I'm sure many others will. You had to work for this episode, which I appreciate though. Um, yeah, that's I'll share a little quick story here as well. And again, more so because 99.9% of our listeners are from Australia, but Sensei Colin from Bendigo, which is a region out approximately 2.5 hours out of Melbourne CBD. So, you know, that is regional, you know, that is a long trek out. Now, each month at my dojo, I try to give back in some form of means to all groups and all full contact karatekas from any age or male, female to come to my dojo and do 51-minute sparring rounds. So not at 100%, shin pads, gloves on, and we work on our game, and I dissect it 10 rounds, and then you have a break in 10 rounds. So it's a spiritual type of class where I like everyone coming together like mindedness. Now Sensei Colin just turned 60 last month, so he went for his fifth dan, and he came down to a couple of my
Is he the guy? Whoops, so is he the
right
guy?
there, right there.
Yep.
That's
Okay.
it. Yep. One of the
Yeah, okay.
fittest blokes I've ever met at that age. And
He's a
Shian now
tough
is
nut. I saw a part of his grading.
yeah,
He's got the moves.
right. So he came down to my dojo prior to this. It was in April, so he came in a couple of times too. You know, so the commitment
Mm.
of him and a story on its own with your other story was he when he was a Nidan, I was some pleb running around with a blue belt, I think, at one of our camps. And I'll never forget Sensei Colin, and I've told him this story where Hanchi Eddie Emin ran the camps, and then the Nidans and Sundans would take the morning session down the beach, which was wake up at 6 o'clock and run down there. And Sensei Colin ran and took us, doing the Faito
Yeah.
down the beach. And again, blue belt. I couldn't even tell you what I was. I was nothing. And we're running down this beach, and you know how you think, okay, it's time to turn back now. We're quite far. We're quite far. Just keeps going. Now that's how long ago I reflect back to a Sensei Colin who, over the years, yes, we live in Victoria and Melbourne, Australia, but you only see each other in moments of a tournament or a seminar or a camp once a year, twice a year, if that. And then 22 years later that I've been doing it, I have Sensei Colin coming to my dojo and helping him in some capacity. He did all the hard work himself to get to this occasion, and what a monumental moment for not only those that were grading, but all those that could attend at Hombu, the essence of Kyokushin. And a shout out to Sensei Colin, as well as Kyoshi Jimmy and Shihan Lance there, and a whole bunch of others that and again, in summary of it, was after COVID and after all the years, it's been since 2016 since I've been able to head back to Japan, and we were going to go in 2019-20, and then that fell through because it was a world tournament year progressively. But then that didn't, and now we're already up to 2023. And it has thrown a spanner in the works from a development angle for my, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for my chapter of teaching, because 2016 was my last hurrah when I fought in the tournament there. But I was also coaching one of my students that day, and I never thought the impact. I was very naive, but I was, I guess, not arrogant, but just naive in going, I'll be fine in my fight. I'll get him over the line as well. And it just zapped me. It just absolutely, because I commit so much to it. And so I left it. I left my fighting chapter in Japan in readiness of, if I was to forever grade in the future, it could possibly be back there again. And the spirit stayed there. Does that make sense? It's a bit of a personal thing.
Yeah, it does.
But since then, I've developed other great fighters and been fortunate, to use the pedigree of Shihan Billy's teachings and I've wanted to show it back to them, and my students have put in, but we haven't been able to go to the world tournaments or regionals because of this issue. So to see our peers have the opportunity to fly overseas, and for the Japanese to, come back and to hear your interpretation of Shihan there in Japan, doing the hustle, doing the grind to make sure that everyone was comfortable and in readiness for what was happening. And then for him to to complete his sixth dan, 60 rounds. Oh man, that makes me get off my ass today and do a little bit extra of something, because
they lead by
awesome.
example, don't they? And I think that's
awesome.
what we look for in our instructors. And I mean, and the wonderful thing is that, with Hombu now being available to rent, a lot of the more sort of, I guess, serious organizations that want to give something back, they want to return to their place of, original training, for example, that they now have the option of being able to rent this place out and hold workshops, trainings, gradings, etc. The future's exciting because I think it's a privilege. Hombu is it's a must place to visit, and if you can train there as well, it's hard to explain, but
I think you're explaining it with your facial gestures. I think you explained it enough with your facial gestures.
You feel Sorsei there. You do.
Oh, baby.
I'm not a religious or spiritual person normally, but there's something about the place.
Absolutely.
It's hard to explain. It's hard to put in words, but it's probably the combination of his spirit and all the blood, sweat, and tears that everyone else has poured into it. That doesn't matter what renovations or how clean the roof is now, because it used to sink a bit more.
Yeah.
and
Very
whether
good.
they polish the floors or whatever, that that blood, sweat, and tears that everyone's poured into that place has stayed there,
Yep.
since the dawn of time. So yeah, a
Very good.
must for people, I'd say.
Listeners, there you have it. I've looked at the time. And again, Shian, as I say, we could talk underwater. There's no
Oh
problem
yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But look, apologies for the, I guess, month away or so, but let's continue our conversations for everyone. Thank you again for your time. For those listening, July 2nd, I'm in Bendigo here in Victoria, but it's more for the listeners out this way. I'm doing my workshop. It's no cost. I don't charge anyone anything. It's just part of the Zen Kyokushin group, Shihan Billy, who I'm under, and my dojo, the Kumite Academy. I do a workshop, Shihan, in regards to footwork and our circling and our more so posture and not being that clunkiness of style of fighting. And I grab a lot of Shihan Billy, Shihan Cameron, Kyoshi Jimmy, Shihan Judd Reed, Sensei Gary O'Neill, all these goats that are in my world that I've been fortunate to train with, and their concepts and teachings. And I put a little bit of a workshop together to give everyone some more in-depth insight to what I've been fortunate to have had, and then try to let them understand that you've been given some nuggets, how you treat those nuggets. 5 of those might not have made any sense, but if that one did, go from there. And then what we do straight after that is we do our 50 by 1 minute sparring. So then there's a time to practice and to put some concepts into place and make some errors, and give yourself. So I do that workshop. I try to do 3 a year. I did one in my dojo in February. I go to regional in middle of the year, and then I'll be doing one down in the Surf Coast here in Victoria in November, for that, so everyone understands. And that's just it's something that was in me, and that said you have to give back to some capacity, and this is my giving back to many of you out there. But there is just something tapping me on the shoulder, and I've said it to this day. If it's Sosai, even better. That's tapping me
Yeah,
on the shoulder. I don't know who it is,
yeah.
but again, I'm not a spiritual
Something there and there,
person,
yeah.
but
And
something
I
always
think
just
this
says,
is really important stuff because the way you structure those seminars is that you've got that initial acquisition stage, that
mm,
input, but you're taking it to a production stage with the 51-minute fights.
yes,
So they get to actually test it, and then they're adding different tools to their toolbox.
exactly.
And then the more they use those and the more they tweak them and make them their own, because that's what it's about as well, as
Exactly.
putting your own flavor on it. Or like you said, you teach them 10 things, and if they take 3 away and
Yep.
really polish those,
Yep.
that's that's adding to their armor,
Exactly.
so yeah, great stuff, well
All
done.
good. Shihan, anything else to add? If not, all good.
No, again, I hope the listeners got something out of
No
this.
doubt.
Say it every time. If there's anything specific you'd like us to look into
Yep.
regarding Japan, or talk about in a bit more depth, etc. and so forth, don't be shy.
Yeah.
Put some of your feedback on in the comments section.
Yes.
Like I said, I'll put links to
Yep.
Shihan Nita's blog if anyone's interested. And they can slap the Japanese into Google Translate and get the gist of it.
Excellent.
But he's put a lot of English in there as anyway, so you can sift through that. If that creates any questions, or you want to know something else, that could be one thing. Also, I'll put for those that don't know where to search for it, I'll put some links in for the Dengo Kai World Champs. So there's
Yes. That
17
was cool
hours of
too.
watching there.
Yep.
But yeah, if that's of interest to anyone,
Very good.
click on those links. And yeah, until next
Awesome.
time, which will be sometime soon, I hope.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah. Back
Yeah,
into
we
it.
look
Back
forward
into
to
it.
everyone's feedback. Yeah.
Keep training hard, everyone. Keep working hard. The
Us,
secret is sweat. We all know that. Big Shihan Sean. Thank you
us,
so much for your
us,
time.
Sensei,
Much
thank you.
appreciated. Us.
Us.